Everywhere I look, I see busy, stressed adults and children. I see people rushing from one thing to the next, taking them out of connection with themselves and each other. My observation of the world at present is that we are disconnected and out of balance emotionally, and yet we are intrinsically motivated to connect. In my interaction with people and children, in my work and personal life, I have seen a pattern, and that is of avoiding emotion and connection. Our relationship with each other, our children, and the earth is not in a happy or healthy place. We are not okay. Our children are not okay. When over 8 million children under the age of 17 in the US alone are on medication to help them cope with their emotions, we are not okay. Over 2 million of them are on antidepressants, and an additional 2 million are on anti-anxiety medication. Drugs are not the solution. Connection is the solution. Cultivating connection with ourselves and others is the way to bring more happiness and balance into our and our children's lives. We are offered so much opportunity in this world to connect. Post on Facebook, accept this friend request, like this photo on Instagram, tweet. These are all illusions of connection. They're not true connection. And yet we jump at these opportunities because we are innately, intrinsically wired for connection. However, we move towards the illusion of connection because it seems less risky, less vulnerable. True connection is risky. True connection is vulnerable. You can fall in love and have your heart broken. You can be rejected. Friendships can end. As a society, we are so fearful of being connected and vulnerable and of feeling big feelings. This is not only because we are afraid of the sensation of those painful emotions, but more importantly, is we don't have a safe place to go when we're in the midst of those emotions. We yearn for a place to go that is safe, where we can express what we are feeling and be accepted and heard. We yearn for the experience of emotional safety. Emotional safety can be defined as when a person is okay with expressing who they are and how they are feeling. They feel confident to take risks and be challenged, and they have a natural curiosity about the world around them. Understand that emotional safety means we are okay to show all of who we are. Let me share an example of how emotional safety can show up in a child's behavior. The situation is this: a child has broken a glass. If they feel emotionally safe, they will simply go and tell an adult or their parents that they broke the glass. For the child who feels emotionally unsafe, they may try to hide it, they may pretend, they may leave it and wait for you to find it, and they may even lie and say they didn't do it. The question is this: are we able to start creating emotionally safe relationships? The short answer is yes. Absolutely. In fact, I'm convinced that this is the essential next step. In order for our children to feel safe, we need to be able to attune, we need to be able to listen, and we need to be able to receive them exactly as they are. I'd like to take a moment to walk you through two different scenarios. The first one is, imagine yourself as a child, any age, whatever age comes to mind, and you're in a beautiful garden. And it's green, there's trees, maybe there's a jungle gym down the bottom. There's an adult somewhere in the background that you know you can call on if you need help. Can you notice what you're feeling as you look around this garden? Can you think of a game you'd like to play? Now I'd like you to imagine yourself on a sidewalk in front of a busy road, cars driving past, strangers walking behind you, broken glass to the side of you, and there isn't an adult around that you can call on for help. What are you feeling now? Can you think of a game you'd like to play here? I'd like to share my experience of these two situations. The first one in the garden, I was happy, I was relaxed, and I was really only concerned with how high I could climb in the tree that was in front of me. In the second situation, I was nervous, anxious, I was on hyper alert, I needed to look everywhere. Only game I might have been able to play was one where I could sit very still and still be able to watch what was going on around me. When we feel emotionally unsafe, it feels the same as when we feel physically unsafe. Keeping ourselves safe is our priority. Nothing else matters. Now, happiness is intrinsically linked to safety. I believe, and it's been my personal experience, that the lightness that comes with happiness and joy is not available if we are feeling unsafe. And in fact, playing becomes very difficult if we don't feel safe. If our children are going to grow into all they can be, we need to start creating environments of safety. We need to start committing to creating safe relationships. We need to be able to lean into stable connection. We need to be able to trust that we have safe relationships. When we can do that, when we know that those are available, we can step into the world more confidently and with more courage. Which is essential if we're going to be healthy humans. Health is defined as a state in which we can function well, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, and socially, and express our fullest potential. Your full potential is only available if we are feeling safe, connected to ourselves and to others. Now, resilience is also in the mix here. Resilience is our bounce back factor. What happens when life throws you a curveball? Do you disconnect? Retract from the world, never to really reconnect again? Or are you able to come back to balance, stay open to life, and be willing to experience what's next? I maintain that for the qualities of happiness, health, and resilience to be part of our children's lives, we need to cultivate connection. We need to create safe emotional spaces. I'd like to share some of my personal story here because it informs my passion of connection is the solution. So I was never very good with emotions. In fact, up to the age of 25, I did an excellent job at avoiding them. I kept busy, I overachieved, I was a perfectionist, and not very good with feelings. I had very limited emotional intelligence skills. When I was little, my experience of showing emotions was one where I felt mocked and ridiculed and even ignored. So I did my best to shut them down and put them to one side. Until in my mid-20s, I collapsed from exhaustion. I simply could not cope. And I had no more energy to live the fast-paced, skillful avoidance of my emotions. This was the start of a 10-year journey of me understanding and discovering why my emotions are so important. How I need them in my life, how I need to pay attention to them in order to thrive in this world. And that safe emotional relationships has been the foundation for my healing and growth. Emotional safety and emotional safe relationships have allowed me the courage and the grace to be exactly who I am. I've never really felt safe in this world, and I've never had consistently safe emotional relationships until very recently. And because I have not had this, I really understand the necessity and the importance of them. And that's why I feel I can speak so clearly to why we need to commit to cultivating connection. Emotional safety affects children in many ways. If a child is in a classroom and they are feeling emotionally stressed or emotionally unsafe, their capacity to learn, understand, and communicate is severely impacted. Here's an example. If I'm coming into class, but just before I've got into class, I've been shoved in the corridor, I've been bullied. I walk into class, I'm upset, I'm hurt, I've got a lot of big feelings going on. It's going to be very difficult for me to sit down and do a math problem. We know from the research that has been done about the brain that when we are feeling big feelings, our capacity to learn and understand is impacted. This can display as different behavior in children. They can be angry, they can shut down, there can be tears. Often this provokes aggravation or frustration in adults because the child is not behaving in the way we want them to behave. But if we can change our perspective and understand that this child is in emotional overwhelm, that they are feeling unsafe, we can choose to have a different response. Very rarely is our first port of call to connect, create emotional safety, and then address the situation. How different would it be if first we attended to a child's emotional safety, their connection to us, and then addressed a behavior that we thought was inappropriate? We would see children coming to us, telling us things, good or bad. I believe we would see children asking for help. And I absolutely believe we would see children that were happier, healthier, and more resilient. To develop emotional safety, we need to realize that emotions are deeply relevant. That cultivating connection is essential. It is essential if our children are going to thrive. A few weeks ago, I was with my goddaughters, and I was walking around the kitchen with Kate on my hip. I was making a cup of tea, and I noticed how curiously she was watching me and how intently she was observing me. And I was struck by this crystal clear understanding. And it was this: we do not raise children, we do not teach children, we have no ownership here. We are in each moment trying our very best to be in right relationship with them. to model how we want them to live in this life. In each moment, doing our best to relate and connect in our constantly shifting relationship with them. How we live, how we relate, and how we connect. That is what informs the growth and the learning of our children. It is time to start making connection our priority. As I end off, I'd like to leave you with one thing you can start to do in your lives right now that will start cultivating connection and increasing emotional safety. They're called emotional check-ins. Step 1, find or write a list of 20 emotions. Step 2, stick it on your fridge. Step 3, check in with yourself at least 3 times a day. What am I feeling right now? I am feeling. Step 5, share a check-in with your loved one or a perfect stranger. I am curious and delighted and intrigued to find out how this changes your life. Thank you.